Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 485 of the DrunkNerds podcast. As always, I'm Tyler. And joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Dude, I'll tell you what. I am pumped after this week. Not just because of my vacation being coming up soon, like in the
Nice.
next week and a half or so, but also because of one, I finished Elden Ring this week, which is a
Very nice.
huge fucking thing for me because that's the first game I've beaten that was developed by From Software. Two, Two, you and I just got done watching night one of WrestleMania 38, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some fucking awesome moments inside of that first night, which
Yeah.
kind of surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got to trudge through 4 hours of shit to get like, I don't know, what, 45 minutes of good stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but three, and unbeknownst to you, Tyler, I actually made another little acquisition.
Gables bought Activision.
No,
No.
no. If I
No.
had that type of money, you think I would be going through and working my day job? No, my acquisition is I bought a new controller. Check
Oh.
this shit out.
Oh, that is sexy as fuck.
Dude, this for the audio listeners, I bought a DualSense controller, right, for my PS5. It's
Mm-hmm.
the purple one, and let me tell you something. This purple is fucking beautiful.
Daddy
This
likes.
looks such a great aesthetic look to this controller because you have all the purple and black and stuff like that, and the buttons are like engraved and stuff with like the white. It just looks smooth. Now, the reason why I made a little acquisition this past week is because my current DualShock, the one I've been playing all the Elden Ring and everything else on, it's
Mm.
got stick drift going on
Oh, that
now.
sucks. Yeah.
But the thing I've learned though from doing a little bit of research, apparently the original launch controllers for the PlayStation 5 have that issue with like the stick drift, but the
Yeah.
newer models that were just released this past year, they don't really have that much of a issue
Hmm.
because it's a different type of like a control stick type of mechanisms and stuff going into it. So, because I want to try to take apart this old controller to see if I can go forth and maybe readjust some things with the right analog stick, I decided to buy a backup controller just in case. Because one, I've been wanting to buy a second DualSense, but two, I fucking love this color purple. I mean,
It's
hell,
sexy.
there's a
It's very
reason
sexy.
I fucking bought a purple controller like around 2020 for my PS4 Pro at the time, and I really loved that color. This one's a little bit darker, but
Yeah.
I fucking love this thing, dude. It just looks so cool. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty much how I've been doing, man. How have you been doing?
Well, Gables, I didn't want to tell you either. Unbeknownst to you, I also made an acquisition this week.
Oh yeah,
I got mellets for the birds. It's bird mellet. They really like it. It's like crack to them. Um,
all the
yeah.
little parakeets and everything, you know.
They're
Love it.
budgies. They're budgies. Um,
Budgies.
yes. Yeah. But they're big fans of it. They like it a lot. I ran out. I had to buy more, so I bought some more this week. So that's my big
Damn.
acquisition for the week. Uh,
There you go.
Gable, I'm not one up Gables in that one. So I had to pull out the bird snacks. So, um, yeah, no, I'm doing fine though. Feel like got finally caught up on sleep. Had the bachelor party for Justin last week. My best friend of 25 years, and we he's getting married in a few weeks. So me and a few other buddies got together, and his brother, and we all threw him a bachelor party. It was a good time. We went out, had good lunch, went out, had a couple drinks, had lunch, and went back to a buddy of ours' place and had a couple drinks, and then we went and out and we surprised him. We went to play some laser tag in Gables.
Nice. What?
We played these teenagers.
Yeah.
You would have thought that Nintendo published this laser tag game because I
Oh
was
no.
whooping that ass so bad. It like we felt like we were generally felt bad. Generally felt bad. Okay, are you okay, Gables?
No, no. I'm just envisioning this where it's like it just continues to theme with you. It's like you just absolutely love just destroying children at games.
Yeah,
And here you go.
yeah, uh, yeah. It was not. It was We generally felt like this is like kind of mean. We were like pinning them in corners and just popping them off. They were just stuck in corners. It was pretty rough. We were just like finally we're like, all right, just go ahead and leave. Go ahead and leave. When like we let him out of the corner, and then the guy would like shoot one of us. Like, you motherfucker, and we shoot him like 20 more times. It was not going great for these kids. We played it was funny though, because we're all in our like early 30s now. And the plan was we're gonna play at least probably 3 games. Each game is 20 minutes. Oh boy, we're old, Gables. Let me tell you, we play like 4 or 5 minute games, I think is what it was, and those first 2 games run around like you would have thought we were 16, fucking sprinting around this goddamn little facility, like shooting people. By game 3, we were it was more of a slow walk, is what I'd call it. We were no longer squatting behind things. We were always standing up straight. No running, just a nice breezy walk on a Sunday afternoon. But we still destroyed them. It went pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Any combat roles involved?
I thought about it. I seriously was gonna do it, but then I'm like, I don't know if my health insurance would cover me breaking a vertebrae. How'd you break a vertebrae? I did a combat role during laser tag to try to impress this 15-year-old as I fucking killed him. It was pretty. We were having a good time running around, joking around though. I did a Game of Thrones line at one point where I was like, we were all hiding behind a barricade and they were on the other side of the thing. We're starting on the new game, and I ran up to everybody with my gun in my hand. I'm like, "Those are good men over there. Let's go kill them!" And we just started charging. So we're having a good time. Yeah, I told everybody I was going to start fucking meleeing them at one point. They did not find that funny. It was funny with Justin's brother Brandon. We had to watch the video, and we went to go walk out right before the game started. He just looked at the kids. He's like, "World of pain, boys. World of pain." It was good. It was a good time though. We had a great time. Did that. Boy, did we feel that in the morning though.
Oh, no shit.
Up and down the stairs, not great. But no, it was good. We went back to Vice's place, and then his wife made some delicious tacos for everybody. She stayed the night at her friend's house, but she cooked us a bunch of food before she left. So really appreciated that. And then we drank a shit ton. And then I think I slept. We all spent the night over there. I think I slept for a solid maybe 2.5 hours. So yeah, it took me. I basically I didn't get home till like 1 on Sunday, and I basically just laid in bed or laid on the couch until it was bedtime. It was a long week. It was a very long week. Man, this is when you really like you know, sometimes you forget how old you are. You know, and I'm 32. I'm not super duper old, but you know, you definitely you feel things a lot more than you used to even 5 years ago.
No shit.
I posted a Facebook post where I was like, when you got to go back to work on Monday after a bachelor party weekend, and it's that Jimmy Butler leaning over the announce desk exhausted. That was me until like I would say honestly Thursday. And then I was like, oh, I got off work yesterday, Saturday night by the way, and I got home. I was like, I'm gonna play some games for a little bit, maybe watch a movie. I'm like, nah. Took a sleep pill. I was asleep by 9. Woke up at like 8:30. So feel better now. Took a little cat nap earlier today too, so that's good. I also beat a game Gables. I would say equally as hard as Elden Ring. I beat Kirby.
Okay. All right.
So who could say who had the bigger challenge? I don't know. We'll talk about that later though. I'm terrible at games, so it's 50-50. But anyways, Gables, this is not why we're here. Well, we are going to talk about Kirby and Elden Ring, but everything else I just said is not why we're here. This is the DrunkNerds podcast where we talk about video games. If you've made it through all that rigmarole, we really appreciate it. If you like all that, please like, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to us at. 5-star reviews, big thumbs ups, whatever you can do. We really appreciate it. If you look in the show notes, if I remembered, I put a link tree in there, and it takes you click on that link, and it'll show you links to every other place we're on: Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Twitch, whatever you name it, we're on it. Even in our extra life pages. So please click on all those things if you are on those services, and give us a big follow and give us a review. Really appreciate it. Even if you don't watch us or listen to us on that service, please subscribe. We really appreciate all that. So the more you guys do that. If you're watching on YouTube, go and download our audio version as well. Because every time I do that, Gables and I get a 1 penny. So doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. For too long, Gables and I might be able to buy coffee.
Yeah.
That'd be really
Yeah,
nice.
that'd be nice. Free coffee, thanks to the listeners.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great if we can get one of those. So please do that. Keep it up. We might be able to go up to a medium.
Hey, there you
Right
go.
now, right now we can get a McDonald's drink. That's about it. So, anyways, like I said, this is DrunkNerds podcast. We're gonna talk about some news, Gables. And it's been a newsy week. So not as newsy as it initially sounded like, because a lot of stuff going into the week, like Sunday and Monday, there's a lot of rumblings about some big PlayStation news. A lot of people were posting about this might be a big week in gaming, and it still was. It's still a very big week in gaming, but maybe not as big as we thought. And I'm struggling, Gables, because they're all pretty big. There's 3 pretty big topics, and I don't know where to begin. Which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with E3, Zelda, or PlayStation Plus?
All right, well, let's go ahead and just address the elephant in the room right now. So let's talk about the potential. No, not just a potential, but let's just go ahead and just talk about Zelda, because this is kind of ties into both you and I anyway in our ongoing competition.
Yes.
In regards to the open critic stuff.
Yes.
So
score 1 for me. Fuck you, Gables.
So going into this, I was well aware that, yeah, I know Nintendo was aiming for 2022 for this game to be released and stuff like that. There was always that possibility it could have been delayed, and unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. During the middle of this week, Nintendo uploaded a video on their official YouTube channel, which was Eiji Aonuma going through and announcing that they're going to be delaying it for a full year.
Well, not a full year, but they were aiming for 2022, so it's spring 2023. Yeah. So, like, we were all assuming holiday, so 4 to 6 months, we'll say.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it's not exactly like a full year, but from when it's announced and stuff, it kind of feels like it's going to be a full year. But
it's a full year from now.
Yeah, pretty much though. But yeah, that was a pretty big kick of the pants in the middle of the week. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, no regrets.
Yeah, I mean, it was only Gable's second pick in the draft, and like we talked about Gables, you swing for the home run. You're my Jason Giambi. You either strike out or you hit a home run, and you hit a home run with Elden Ring, and you struck out with Breath of the Wild, whatever it's gonna be called.
But at the same time, it's like I swung 2 times, got 2 misses in regards to both the Mario Kart New Edition, in regards to the Switch version of it. Plus the whole Breath of the Wild 2 being released this year. So, yeah, those 2 were misses. But at the same time, I still got a whole bunch of stuff that I still need to go forth and see what they do.
Yeah.
Plus, I got 2 spots left. I mean, that could be anything.
Yeah, that's true. Could be anything. Could the 2 spots could be anything. It could be a box. Could be a boat. That's an old Family Guy reference for people that don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really shocked. I feel like, I've been talking about, I felt pretty comfortable in the last month or so, especially after we had that last direct where they didn't talk about it. Like, that kind of felt like I didn't think it had to be there, but
right.
It was like, okay, maybe it's not happening. And I mentioned this at the time when they announced that they're at the E3, I believe it was E3 last year when they showed it off, that they said they were aiming for 2022. And I brought up that's the exact same thing, literally, that PlayStation said the year prior with Horizon Zero Dawn, or Horizon Forbidden West, rather, where they said that they're aiming for 2020, or 2021, rather. God, I can't, years are hard now. They were aiming for 2021, and then it came out early 2022. And that's when I heard that verbiage, immediately that's what I thought of. And, obviously, it sucks because it's crazy. It's delays are always a bummer. I always think it's dumb when people get mad. Like, I can understand you're upset or you're a little bummed out, because fuck yeah, it's one of the greatest games of all time. Everyone wants to play. It's the 7th best game of 2017. It's a great. It's a very solid 8 out of 10, as Gables would say. I've heard Gables say that many a times, all the time, almost weekly on this podcast. Don't send your hate mail towards me, Gables. I'm just repeating what Gables says. No, it's great. It's one of the all timers. It's a bummer. It definitely is. But yeah, we've talked about on and on. We did a podcast just a few weeks ago about is this gonna be the best year ever for Nintendo and like how jam packed their schedule was without Breath of the Wild. And then like with the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that's one of the first questions we asked was like, well, fuck, that's probably gonna come out in November. Like, where's Breath of the Wild coming? Um,
That's fairly true.
yeah. So
And for all we know, it could still be like a pretty damn strong year. Maybe it's not as initially strong as what we initially thought it was going to be.
yeah.
Because, yeah, but at the same point, it's like there's a bunch of strong releases that still need to come out. I mean, we just got done with like the whole Kirby stuff coming out in March, and now it's like whenever Advance Wars comes through, whenever like
Oh God. Yeah.
when the friggin' oh god, the Mario Strikers game comes out,
In
whenever
June.
the
Yeah.
friggin' like yeah, Splatoon 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Bayonetta 3, whole bunch of threes. And then
Yeah.
like
Pokemon,
Scarlet and Violet and shit. And it's like there's
Mario
still a whole
Rabbids.
bunch of yeah, exactly, and Live Alive and all this other stuff. Like but the fact remains is like there's still a lot of shit that's going to be coming out
Yeah.
non-Nintendo systems that is going to make it a pretty damn strong year
Yeah.
regardless.
True. And I mean, that's just Nintendo. I mean, this is going to be a very strong year in general. It's already been a pretty strong year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's April 2nd. So, I mean, I've already beaten 3 pretty, really good games this year. And there's 3 more that are 2 more that are already out that I want to check out that I don't know if it'll be game of the year type games, but like Ghostwire. And I actually want to play Strangers of Paradise. Like that game sounds like it's actually pretty good. Shockingly. Um, so like those, I mean, it's been, and then there's Elden Ring. Elden Ring's not my type of game, but Gables, you've been playing it, and I mean, yeah, it's already been a really great, it's been an all time great quarter, first quarter, maybe one of the greatest first quarters ever in gaming. And we're just now getting in the Q2. So yeah, I mean, you gotta look at it like, it's crazy, like I've seen a lot of like the conspiracy theories about, oh, does this mean that the Switch Pro is happening or this next Switch? And I don't believe that. My theory has been, since the SWOLED or OLED Switch, whatever you want to call it, was announced, was there was all those rumors from Bloomberg, the leaks that was like they was gonna have like they had everything correct about the OLED except for the 4K part. And my theory is that I think the Bloomberg leak was correct, but then COVID and then the issues with the God, was it the something ductor that
Yeah.
everything's having issues with the PlayStation, Xbox, missiles, fucking cars, like it goes in phones. I mean, that thing has been impossible to get, and we've had global shortages on everything because of it. And that it's hard enough for them to make switches, regular switches, on top of that having to make
Yeah.
a Switch Pro, whatever it's called. So my theory is like that leaks were initially correct, and then because of the conductor shortage, they just scrapped that and said, well, we already have all the parts for a regular Switch. Just put a new screen on it, make it a little bigger, and then boom, here you go. And I think that's what it is. I'm at the point now where, unless, I mean, the Switch is still selling out as they can't make them fast enough still, and currently in the 6th year of the Switch being on the market. Is that correct? 2017, 18. Yeah, 6th year of that being the case.
Yeah.
Is it 6th year, 5th year? I don't fucking know. Time's hard. And I'm too many beers in to do the math.
Well, technically, yeah, it's probably like its 5th year on the
Yeah.
market.
Well, I guess it's 5th year in market. Yes, we're currently in its 5th year. 6th year will be next year. God,
Yeah.
it's too late and I'm too drunk. Not drunk, but I'm buzzed enough. But anyways, yeah. So I think it'd be crazy to do a next Switch because of that. Like, why would you do the next Switch, especially when like the games are still selling like crazy? You can't make. I mean, cool. You put on a new console or whatever, new console, new handheld, whatever you want to call it, and you're just in the same boat that PlayStation and Xbox are right now. It's like just keep making the thing you're making. You got a bunch of games coming out for it. You got a bunch of games coming out for it next year. And then I think like unless they're gonna like, to me, like doing the Switch Pro thing would probably piss off a lot of people that just want the OLED.
Yeah, it would.
And then also would make it'd be like you can't get a Switch or an OLED as is. So that thing's gonna be even harder to get. And like I don't know, like if the Switch is like planning on being the main console for like, I would say until 2024, like it needs at least 2 more years of salt, like before like well, no, if it comes out mid 2023, 2025. If the Switch is still going to be around until 2025 as the main console, like I think that's like if the Pro comes out in 2023, then that's going to be the case. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'd be crazy. I would love, like I'm on board if like if there was an issue with making these things, with like doing like I hope the next Nintendo console is just a more powerful Switch, because
Yeah.
God knows they need it. You know, like they do, like they're doing some really great things with the Switch as is. Like they're doing some really cool technical stuff with it, but you are like we've talked about, like you are seeing the age of these consoles. We've been seeing the age of them like for years now. We've seen them with like you're seeing that like Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've seen it with even with Kirby of a lot of frame drops. Like Kirby's running at 30 frames per second, and it still looks gorgeous. It still runs fairly well, but when a lot of things pop up on the screen, it does that weird stop motion thing, or the frames will drop if like too many like effects are going on at the same time. You know, and what same thing with like Age of Calamity I talked about. Like that game just ran at like 15 frames per second. That game came out a year and a half ago. So I would love for like either a Switch Pro and a couple more years of solid, like the Switch 2 comes out in 2025, or if we get a next Switch in 2023, I'd be all on board on it. But like as long as you're able to like continue to play your Switch games on it, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. But yeah, I mean Zelda. I mean like I think this year's gonna be fantastic without it. And yeah, I just I don't know. It's very weird because like it's been. I mean, there was a lot of talks. Like originally this game like internally was supposed to come out in 2020, and then COVID happened, and obviously COVID happened and that fucked a lot of things up. But like you're thinking a year at most of delay. And now we're looking at 2023. So I'm like, I don't want to be like the conspiracy theory guy. Like, oh, did something go wrong? That's like this become bigger? Did something change or dramatically in this? Because like they talked about openly about how they're reusing a lot of assets. They're reusing the same map. Obviously, they're making changes to that map, but they're reusing a lot of the assets. So that's gotta save a shit ton of time. And this is gonna be the longest gap in Zelda games ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we got like what 5 more seconds of gameplay, and I think that's enough to like keep people going for at least another month or two, or until E3. We've seen all the yeah. What were you saying? I'm sorry, Gables.
Well, like I was saying, they're gonna have to showcase. They're probably gonna showcase something in regards to Breath of the Wild 2 before the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah,
let's be perfectly honest with you. If they're aiming for like a spring 2023 release and stuff, they need to show something that's going to tide people over until that time, and showing the exact elements of the evolved forms of the gameplay, plus the scope and scale of what they're getting into in regards to what was with the original Breath of the Wild. I mean, that's enough to tide a lot of them over until the release.
yeah. And what was it? I think it was E3 2016. They did the big blowout. We finally got the name for it. And then in January when they did the Switch event, when they announced everything, they gave us a release date finally. So I could see the same thing here where maybe E3 is the big blowout for it. We get the maybe not get a date, but we at least get the title, and we start to see like understand more of what's happening in this game. I mean, it's been multiple years. It's been what they announced it in June 2019.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's crazy to think that we're looking at 3.5 years after that. 3.5 more years after they announced it that's finally coming out. Because I mean, spring to Nintendo can mean anything. It could, because they take spring very literally, where spring technically goes to late June. So when they say spring, it could go June, but also could still be early March. Could be March 3rd or something like that. What day is March 3rd on next year? Because that would be kind of I want to look at the calendar real fast, Gables.
March 3rd of next year of 2023.
Yeah. I'm looking. March 3rd is a Friday.
Oh, hey, that could potentially be a release day right there.
I'm calling it right now. March 3rd, 2023, 6th year anniversary of the Switch and Breath of the Wild. We get whatever the next game is going to be called. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Gables, I don't know. Like, you're a much bigger Zelda fan than I am. What was your thoughts when we got that 5 seconds of, we've seen the broken Master Sword and it looked like Ganondorf's hand is on Zelda's hand? Like, or do we have Calamity Link going on here?
From that initial thing, it kind of reminds me of kind of like a curse is placed upon Link in regards to some stuff. Like you have to rebuild possibly from the initial 5 seconds of it, and like this little scope and scale. There were a couple things that were fairly noticeable. One, the whole element of like say a bunch of like the Triforce of Power, or even some sort of a form of a curse from Ganondorf, or just Ganon himself. Just infects Link. It looked like. So it may be something to where you have to try to, and I'm just assuming here, verbatim here, that you may have to probably have to do something with the Master Sword in order to cleanse yourself from the influence of Ganon, which that would be kind of an interesting concept and core, because throughout the entirety of Breath of the Wild, you're trying to get rid of like Calamity Ganon because he's the one that totally destroyed Hyrule and stuff and caused it to be inside a colossal thing to where Link was asleep inside of the chamber for like what over 100 years.
100 years exactly.
Yeah, about 100 years. So, in regards to the sequel and stuff, we saw the trailers beforehand where it's like with Zelda and Link going underneath the castle and stuff and coming across Calamity Ganon in terms of like his Ganondorf like form, sort of
Mm.
similar to that. But there's just a whole bunch of different things that this game could be. And the thing about what we did see, I mean, yeah, it definitely looks like the gimmick is going to be around probably like the fight between like good and bad, light and dark of yourself. That's what it kind of reminded me of because it's like there have been past references in Zelda games and stuff where you have to face off against yourself in multiple different situations. The whole Shadow Link
Oh.
perceptive and
Yep.
stuff like that, to where Zelda 2 was the first one that had that element to where I think it was at the last boss of the game, I think it was, where you had to face off against yourself,
Yeah.
Shadow Link.
Yeah.
That also reoccurs in like Ocarina of Time. That one with the water temple. I mean, that
Mm.
one, that's a big callback too.
I just
But
scrubbed the water temple out of my brain, so I don't remember anything about it. So.
I'm sure a lot of Zelda gamers have the same thing when they've played the water temple the first time.
Mhm.
But the fact remains is that core concept could be held into play to where it's like, okay, the fight against yourself. Good, like morality, good morality, bad morality, and sort of that Ganon influence and stuff kind of infected inside of Link, and that's kind of the struggle to maintain control. That could be something that could definitely be element in play. But from what initially we've seen in previous trailers before, it's definitely a full exploration, almost sort of like an open world style of game, sort of similar to the first. But yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff that's still need to be shown in order for us even to get that stuff going. Like the core gimmick of the game itself, the whole name of what this thing's going to be called. If it's going to be like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Ganon's Curse. I mean, that's something I could see happening too. But
Gables. Gables.
speculations.
Yeah. Hear me out. I have a theory.
What?
Game opens with Calamity Ganon takes over Link. He's about to kill
Hmm.
Zelda. And then all of a sudden you hear a whoosh in the air.
Oh
And
no.
you just hear a bomb drops. And evil Link turns around. And what do you hear? Tingle. Fucking Tingle saves the
Waiting
day.
for it.
Zelda, Tingle of the Wild. Make it happen. Boom. Done. Sold. I just sold 50 million copies. You're going to outsell Animal Crossing. Let's do it. And you don't have to buy maps because he has the map. He is the map. Instead of a glider, you get to go in a balloon. You don't have to wear costumes. You get a green suit. It's fucking awesome.
Spread your rupees everywhere.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm all in on this game. If it's not Tingle of the Wild, then our Tingle saves the wild. Just thinking, Gables. No? All right. Well, fuck you guys. If you don't like my idea, I don't care. I'll go make my own Zelda game with Tingle in it. I'll have blackjack and I'll have hookers. Let's forget the whole thing. All right, moving on, Gables. Next topic here. PlayStation Plus, Gables. It's the long rumor of PlayStation Plus. Finally got the details on it. Not really a surprise here. A lot of the things we already knew. I'm going to run through it real fast, some of the details we have here, so bear with me. I'm going to space out midway through it because every time I read it, I space out because it's just a very boring graph. Or bullet points, rather. PlayStation Plus Essential provides the same benefits that PlayStation Plus members are already getting. 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive for discounts, cloud storage for save games, Online multiplayer access. There are no changes to the existing PlayStation Plus tiers. That will stay the same. $10 a month or $60 a year. You could do $25 quarterly here. We have PlayStation Plus Extra. This is the second tier. It is provides the same benefits as before. Also adds a catalog of 400 plus of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. And they did actually say like games like Returnal, Miles Morales, and I believe they're like pretty much anything that's on the PlayStation Plus collection already. And then you have like Miles Morales, Returnal, and I believe the other Spider-Man game will be on there as well. That will be $15 a month or $100 for a year. You could do quarterly. I believe it's $40 quarterly. And then finally, PlayStation Plus Premium. All the same benefits below with Essential and Extra. This also, on top of that, adds an additional 340 additional games. PS3 games available via streaming, Gables. Via streaming.
Yeah.
A catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options for original PlayStation 2, and PSP generations. Offers cloud streaming access for original PS2, PSP, and PS4 games. From those as well. You can play games on PC as well. You just need to have a DualShock controller. You also get access to time-limited game trials that will be offered in this tier. So customers can try select games before they buy. That will be $18 a month, $50 quarterly, or $120 a year. And I believe, yeah. So at launch, the one tier that I was talking about that has, they said Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal will be a part of that. So, yeah. So basically, it seems like what they're doing here is they kind of broke up PS Now in a way, where like, so the PS3 games are on the top tier, but the other games so we get a 400 games from PS4 and PS5. That will be on this catalog. No idea what those games are going to be, but there's a ton. I'm assuming those are basically whoever's on the PS Now already. There are actually no PS5 games on there, I guess. But yeah, and then on top of that, we're gonna get all the PS3, PS2, PlayStation games, and PSP. Is PSP on PS Now?
No. Currently, PSP games are not available through PlayStation Now.
Okay. So, I mean, Gables, what was your initial reaction when you read this news?
All right, so my initial thoughts of it, depending upon what games that are offered inside of this service, besides like the core selection that we got right now through PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now corresponding the services, it's really hard to tell because the initial from the offset, it seems kind of underwhelming because for one, the opening tier is the same of what we have right now for PlayStation Plus.
Which is always going to be
tier
the case.
the tier above that is just PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now combined into one. That's a similar service that I have right now.
But you don't get the
But
PS3 games.
You don't. Well, you actually can stream the PS3 games through PlayStation Now, right?
Well, yeah, but the third tier, this is why it's so fucking confusing. So I'll run through this real fast. I'm sorry. Again, let me pull it up. PlayStation Essential Extra is the middle tier. It just says add a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games. The top tier includes PS3, PlayStation 1, PS2, and PSP games. So it looks like the middle tier only includes PS4 and PS5 games. The top tier includes PS3, PS2, and all that fun jazz.
Oh, okay. So that was definitely a misinterpretation on my part because currently through PlayStation Now you can stream PS3 games if you choose to. But more likely, when people have that service, they go and download games anyway because the streaming can be haphazard upon PS3 classics. It just depends upon your internet connection and what you want to get through it. I know personally, I've tried it, and I've come across mixed results. Input delay for fighting games. Sometimes when I go and try to play a game like a platform or something, there's just a slight delay where it just knocks off the precise inputs that you want to go forth and do. So when it comes to this premium service for the highest tier, the most expensive one through this PlayStation Plus, plus type of shit. You know, it's like we're basically just paying more for classic games. So it's like PS1, PS2, streaming through PS3 and PSP stuff. And like I said, currently, unless we know exactly what they're going to be offering for these classic games, it's going to either make it for a lot of the gamers or it's going to fall flat on its ass because it's like the highest. I'm talking about just the highest tier of it.
Mm.
But yeah, without knowing what games are going to be available there at launch, which it sounds like to me they're just going to be doing like a full on like relaunch and stuff in June.
Yep.
I'm going to firmly go into it just saying not very high on it because it's just quintessentially PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now merged into one. So it's sort of underwhelming because there's no day and date games that you can actually go forth for like releases, say like with Game Pass. For backwards compatibility, at least I give Microsoft credit in terms of a lot of their retro games to where if I choose to, I could play the backlog catalog I got for 360 and Xbox One games on my current Xbox, and by choosing to go with Game Pass and stuff, I can download some of those old classic games too without having necessarily to stream them. I mean, I
Yeah.
could for some, but the fact remains is at least my console's fully emulated to the point to where I can backwards play them with the initial intent because Microsoft's actually put through the initial effort in order to make sure their emulators for these classic games work correctly as opposed to Sony not doing it for PlayStation 3 games. And that, in and of itself, is the biggest kick in the ass, in my honest opinion. Because it's like PS3 games. A lot of good classics there, too. Sure, there were a bunch that were taken from that generation, remade, because Sony full on knew well that gamers would go forth and rebuy these classics, especially if you upgraded them to the 4K, HDR, all this other stuff. There's been
Mm-hmm.
multiple games.
Well, I
And
mean,
not
to be
just
everybody did. I mean, to be fair though, in that last generation, everybody was doing remasters and stuff from that generation. That was like the first half of last generation was just. I mean, everything got fucking remastered by everybody.
yes, and that's a
So.
great point. But at the forefront, it was Sony Computer Entertainment doing that type of remasters as
Well,
well.
yeah, they're one of them. Yeah, I mean, but like I said, there's a, and we bought them. We all bought them. Um,
Sure.
I bought a bunch of them. I know I have, and a lot of people bought them. So, just like I mean, look at the Switch with like how many Wii U games we bought as for a second time because Nintendo put them on the Switch. So,
Yeah,
um,
because they put out the definitive versions of those Wii U ports and stuff
yeah,
like that with additional content for a lot of them too. That's why
yeah,
we were bought them.
yeah. But it's like it's nice to have them on new hardware and it'd be nicer and prettier. Um, so yeah, it's my biggest gripe with this whole thing isn't the service itself. Isn't I think the price point isn't bad. Like if you look at it monthly, yeah, but if you're paying monthly for this shit, like if you're paying monthly for PS Plus, anything like that, you're fucking nuts. Like I don't like. I think they did say I think over 80% of people that have PS Plus pay the annual fee. So
Yeah.
at least there are some, I can't like you're paying literally double if you do monthly. Um, so I'm not even gonna look at the monthly price. I'm looking at it yearly. You're talking $60 for what it is now for the base thing. Okay, it's exactly the same. $100 for the next tier for a year, or if you just pay an extra $20, you get that third tier. You get the
Yeah.
with everything, and you get game trials stuff like that. And I think the game trials part could be enough to bring people over on top, because especially when you look at it, if if you're into this thing, it's like and you're looking at okay, I'm gonna get the extra or whatever it's called, the middle tier. I think it's extra. And they're like, oh, it's $100. Well, I guess for only $20 more, I can get the premium version. So fuck, I might as well just pay the extra $20. I'm already paying 100. At 100 after you're paying 100, what's the extra $20 at that point? So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place on this one. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. So like like we said, the biggest issue is the way it was announced. It felt like a very boring like chart that you put out to somebody like in a business meeting. And I talked about this before. Like I felt like this probably would just be a blog post, which it's what it was. It's just on the PlayStation blog where they put a lot of news on there. But like we got instead of just getting a tweet from Nintendo about delaying Zelda, we got like a video, and they gave us at least 5 seconds of gameplay. Like, you're trying to sell me on the, like, we're already sold on Zelda. Like, that game's already going to sell 20 million copies easily. You're trying to sell us this new service that's really just like a slightly different version of your old service. You're just basically doing away. Like, PlayStation Now, not that brand didn't do super hot. PlayStation Plus is really popular though. I think they said they have over 80 million subscribers on that. So why don't we just combine it in there, and we'll just add some extra things to it and call it a day. And that's kind of what it. And like, yeah, I think like if you're doing like a 5-minute video about this, but like pizzazz it up, like, be a salesman, like show me the game title, like, but also tell me the game title, show me the game title, show me what's gonna be there. Why do I want this? Like why do I need to have this? Why don't I like not the why don't I want this? Why do I need this thing? Be a car salesman. Show me this shit. Like, we are dumb consumers. If you just like, people are freaking out, like I said, over the 5 seconds of gameplay that we got from Zelda, and God knows I was too. But like, I'm no better than anybody else. I'm not mocking people. I'm mocking myself in that as well. I know what I am though. And like, if you make this exciting, you show me like all these cool things I want to get because of the service that I have. Make me want this thing. Make me say I need to have this, or like just make it like the PlayStation Plus is just a thing I have. I don't even think about it. I pay the $60. Don't even think about it. I don't even play. I barely play the PS Plus games. I use the discounts every now and again. Like, that's nice, but like, I don't use the cloud service has helped me a few times. But like, yeah, like I don't play online all that much. It's nice, but it's just like nice. It's the thing I don't have to worry about. Like, it's just there. I know it's gonna be there. I know it's gonna work. And hey, like I could get a few times, like 3, 4, 5 times a year. I might get a cool game out of it. And that's the way I look at it. So yeah, like I said, jazz it up a little bit. Make it a video. Put some effort into it. I guess it's not coming out until June, so they still can do like a big blowout on this thing and with the video and show us, like, tell us, like, because like you're talking about like you're gonna have third-party support. Like, there's gonna be over 400 PS4 and PS5 games. Like, what kind of PS5 games are we talking about? Like, yeah, I know you got like Miles Morales stuff and the Returnal in there, but like, what else is gonna be there? Like, what are you gonna do to make us want the service? And like I mentioned last week, like I've seen a lot of people bitching about the day one thing, games not being there day one. But like I mentioned this last week with Xbox, is like up until November of last year when we got Forza Horizon 5 and Halo, that gameplay has been around for 3.5 years. At that point, over 3 years, and the biggest we had Sea of Thieves and Gears 5 are the two, and Forza Horizon 4. Those are like those are the three really big, like, quality Xbox first party games that came out, and over 3 years of that service. But for multiple years now, we've been talking about how great Game Pass is as a service because of what they add to it and value of, like, they're giving us really good quality indie games, really good quality, like, first, like, big games, AAA game, like, not even AAA, like, we're getting, like, we got the EA Play, we're getting, like, even like smaller games like Outriders last year. That game came out day one. It will be the show day one. All these really great indie games. Like, I think it was saving me a ton of money. They're making the service that I have to have, and it's just second nature. I pay that $15 a month and I keep it, and it's awesome. Like, we don't need to have these day one games on PlayStation for this service to be awesome. Just like Xbox doesn't need that. Like, but it just puts it over the top. And like I said, obviously sales wise, business wise, it makes sense. But it'd be really stupid of PlayStation to put their games on the service day one. It cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. Like I said last week, not trying to defend companies here, because it's very rare that I'll defend companies, but we can't expect them to keep making games bigger and better looking and bigger, and expect just to keep everything to keep going up, and then us pay dramatically less. Doesn't like when we talk about
that's not realistic. Yes.
Yeah, it's just like when I talk about like with microtransactions. We don't like them, but I understand that to keep games a little cheaper, it's kind of a necessary evil. Like, we got to meet in the middle. Something that politics can't do anymore. Meet in the middle somewhere. Let's meet in the middle, everybody. Instead of we got to do all this thing. Oh, okay, give us this and that. No, never mind. Fuck it. So we got to meet in the middle here. So microtransactions is the middle. Like when games went up to $70 and people lost their fucking minds over that. It's like, Games have been $60 for nearly 20 years. Games were $60 in the 90s. They were more. Superman 64 was $80. Super Mario World, I think, was like there were some games that were almost $100 30 years ago, and we're paying 60. Now we're gonna freak out because games are 70. I know there's like, you can argue the bullshit of like the pay $100 and we'll give you the game 3 days early. Like, that shit's kind of stupid. I agree. But yeah, there's just I don't know. I'm going on a tangent here. But get back to I'm sorry. Go back to the service here. I think it could be a good service. It's not really. I think it's a good price if you think about it, $120. Yeah, it's a big initial cost to get in. But I don't know. Like, if they do a good job of like wowing us, it's fine. But yeah, I don't think this, like, as of right now, like, they're not really doing a good job of like telling me why I need to have this thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they would have done like a video, like, make it exciting for us, that would have been maybe a little different. Tell us what's going to be there day one. Like, what's like, you got support, like I said, the support from third parties. Like, what kind of support are we talking here? Because right now I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, I think it's, I don't want to, like Nintendo expansion packs. It's like, it's not much better than that. I mean, obviously it's gonna have newer games, but I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because I don't hate the idea. I'm like I said last week, I'm going in with an open mind. I'm gonna keep that open mind, but I think initial first step has not wowed me. But Gables, we got to move on here to, man, all three of these topics could have just been the headline of the show. But Gables, E3 has officially been canceled. Rebecca Valentine had this first in IGN earlier this year, where she kind of reported that they had quietly months ago canceled the physical E3 for later this year. But she was reporting, I believe in January or either December or January, that the digital one has also internally been canceled, or would most likely be canceled. They were kind of denying that. They did report that they canceled the physical version. And then a few people, like some emails started going out, and people started tweeting about, like, they got emails that E3 digital had been canceled. E3 ESA officially came out and canceled it. Jeff Keighley immediately put out a winky face emoji on Twitter, and it's kind of went crazy. I do want to, so the Summer Games Fest Twitter account has been a little more active. Let me see if I can find it. Games. Oh, I had it. There it is. So a few things that I posted here is, this happened earlier today. So Summer Game Fest will only be in the month of June. No specific dates as of yet. Yes, you can co-stream all events. Participating companies, platforms, and studios for 2022 will be announced as we get closer. And there will be some new elements for 2022. We will once again offer an easy to subscribe calendar of events. Yes, Jeff Keighley will once again host a big live cross-industry event showcase in June. Kind of like we had the kickoff event last year, and that's when, like, Elden Ring, we got gameplay for the first time. Probably something like that. And then I'll probably lead into, like he did, I think, on Thursday before E3. So I think we'll see something like that again. But basically sounds like internally, like Jeff Grubb and a few other people were talking about, reporting that that companies were like leaning, like E3, the ESA did say E3 would be back next year and they want to do a physical. But it sounded like internally that most companies were going with Jeff Keighley. So E3 just kind of was canceled because they just couldn't get the support needed to be an event, which is, I don't know, like, it's sad. Like, we've been hearing for multiple years now, pre-pandemic, that like people kept saying, even like 2019, people have been retweeting things about, is this the last E3 in 2019? Like, this is a year before COVID. Almost a year before COVID and stuff like that. So, people have been talking about quietly, like, ESA has just been a joke it's been like E3's been running in spite of ESA, and then like a lot of those people left, and then this year we had a new, like, people running ESA, and yeah, this sounds like a lot of people were saying Jeff Keighley was just a more competent person to go with, and it seems like he's running it, and it sounds like more so what a lot of people want. Like 2020, we didn't have the E3. So it was just kind of like a free for all. Everybody started doing their own events. We talked about a bunch. And like that it was just sucked when we had like 50 fucking events and nobody knew what was important, what mattered. And God knows I wasted a lot of time watching these streams, expecting big things to happen. It's like, oh, you have nothing. Or, oh, I'm seeing this game for the 15th time. I've seen this at every other event. And so like E3, like last year's a little bit more normalcy. It was still, we've talked about it. It was kind of a bad E3 because it just seemed like they just took anybody that give them money to be a part of this thing. We thought, like the Gearbox thing was awful. Capcom's thing was laughable. Square Enix was pretty bad besides Guardians, stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that I'm sad. Growing up, I always want to go to E3. And it's kind of sad that name is over. But really, as a fan, I think for us people that we just watch online, we don't actually go to this thing. Really, all I want is just to I want that fun weekend, 4 or 5 days of just awesome events. And maybe we don't have that weekend, but if we can condense everything together, it sounds like Jeff Keighley is just basically going to be the scheduler of all this shit. It's all right, cool. Well, no, Xbox is going here. I mean, we don't know who's going to be part of this. Let's just hypothetically, all right, Xbox has got this day. No, Nintendo, the Xbox has already got it, so you can have this day, kind of thing. Somebody can just put everything together in a nice, tidy fashion. That would be great. Because that's all I want. Because I want these events to keep happening. They're always exciting. It is Gamer Christmas. I always loved years with my previous job. I'd always take that week off from work. It always was great because I get timed out right when our busy season was over. Led right into the summer. I take that week off to kind of recharge the batteries, and then just watch a shit ton of cool games get announced and talk about them with you every night. And I love that, and I don't want that to go away. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, give us what are your thoughts when you heard about this?
Well, honestly, in the core thing, yeah, I am sad that the whole E3 thing was canceled for this year. But at the same time, it's like we were initially at that point to where it's like we were really not too much giving a shit about it because it started becoming less and less year after year until eventually from last year it was just basically like a hodgepodge of certain things. It's kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we
for
got
the most
Nintendo
part,
and Xbox were awesome, but
yeah,
I remember there was that Monday night we were because we were coming out and recording every night, and that Monday night we were like, do we even want they had 4 events, and you messaged me, is do you really want to record for these events? And I got home and I watched them, I'm like, not really. It would just be an 8-minute thing, and it'd just be us talking for 7 minutes about why the fuck are we here.
Yeah, yeah, fairly true. But you know what? E3 had been going on since '95. That for that long, yes. The Electronic Entertainment Expo has been around for that long. At that time, you had games like Donkey Kong Country being shown, like for the Super Nintendo, and this and that. And all of a sudden, it evolved into this grand spectacle year after year and stuff. Some of the most fun and the most infamous moments happen in that game show, that whole trade show too. But in later years and stuff in the 2020s, even before the pandemic stuff got into full swing, there were definitely calls to, hey, is this the last E3? Is this the last E3? And now for this year to be finally, it's like, you know what, we're just going to cancel this thing outright. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, granted, I enjoyed E3 for what it was. There was a lot of fun moments. There's a lot of shitty moments, but at the same time, yeah, we still have something in regards to an equivalent with what Jeff Keighley's doing with the Summer Games stuff, and it sounds like it's going to be closer in spec to what we were getting initially anyway, in regards to the whole reveal stuff during June. So, you know what? We give or take. One thing passes on and initially just goes into the sunset. The other one just goes and lifts itself up.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I just hopefully, there's something this year. That's all I really want. And hopefully we get the big guns are part of it because we don't know who's going to be part of it. So hopefully it's just better than last year. But let's move on, Gables, to some other news this week. A lot of smaller stuff here. So Nintendo added some games to Nintendo Switch Online. I think it's the first time they've added Nintendo games, like Super Nintendo and Nintendo games, since last June, I believe. So we got Mappy Land, Dig Dug 2, And last but certainly least, Earthworm Jim 2.
So yeah, this is definitely the type of stuff that you look at from the offset. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
I mean, I've been saying that for multiple years, but yeah, I'm happy you joined me on this. So
But of course, for the listeners listening in and for those viewing us and stuff, it's like the Nintendo Switch Online. It's like they've been focusing so much on their N64 service, and even like in regards to the whole pay for stuff, where it's like we've been waiting for initial note while NES and Super Nintendo games for a while. I mean, the last major update for like Super Nintendo stuff, you had things like Kablooey, and also in terms of like all these, well, okay, like what Claymates and something else, from like Interplay.
yeah.
But you know what? The initial thing is, yeah, you get some classic games from like Namco and stuff like that for Mappy Land, and like especially for Dig Dug 2, which initially did never release in the U.S. Like legitimately back in the day. It was
Huh.
a Japan only
So
style
you're
of
telling me
game.
it's eligible for Game of the Year 2022 for us?
No, not quite. It actually has been released multiple
Oh,
times in English here.
I almost subscribed,
But
Gables. I'm like, I gotta know. I had to know, but never mind. If it's not eligible, I'm not interested.
But yeah, Earthworm Jim 2 kind of surprised me a bit because yeah, that's something that you don't really see too much, but yet it also ties into the last major release for SNES, like major SNES stuff, barring Earthbound, and that stuff.
Oh yeah, we did have
But
Earthbound a couple months ago, so
yeah,
that
we had
was the last
Earthbound
thing.
Beginnings.
Yeah, you're right. So we had that a couple months ago, but before that, we didn't have anything until last June. So
Yeah, exactly. But it really just feels like to me that Nintendo's just really reading off a list of some of deals that they've had, and they have their own set number of what they're releasing on the service.
I think they have
Even
like
more,
I think they have the ping pong balls from like the NBA lottery,
yeah.
and whatever comes out, they just like that's what they put out. But what I imagine there's like 100 million ping pong balls in this thing, and there's like 100,000 Earthworm Gyms, 200,000 Mappy Lands, and there's only like one Super Mario RPG ping pong ball. That's my
That
guess.
wouldn't surprise me in the least. But yeah, if unless you have some form of an interest from those past things, this is going to be very underwhelming for you too.
Yeah, I'll say I'm happy for Justin because he grew up loving Earthworm Jim, and for some odd reason he
Mhm.
still loves it. Um, he's just dumb nostalgia kid, poor guy. But it was good. It was on his birthday. Uh,
Yeah,
that game came out, and he was also wearing his Earthworm Jim shirt when it came out. So um,
that's actually pretty
uh, he
hilarious.
texted me that, and I'm like, "Can you please put on a Pokemon trading card game from Game Boy Color shirt? Because I would really appreciate that. Because that'd be great. Because I mean, if he can make that happen for me, that'd be great as well. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Next up, though, Xbox apparently is planning on releasing a family plan for Game Pass this year. No idea on pricing or anything like that. This is a leak from Windows Central, who they're a pretty prominent leaker for Xbox stuff. Um, no real details other than sounds like it's going to be up to 5 people on this that can do that for the service. But no idea what price point, what might look like. But it's currently $15 a year, so I don't know, 5 people. If it comes out, it's like $50 a month for 5 people. All right, no, that's not a really good deal. I think it was $40 a month for 5 people. Like that's a pretty good deal if you can trust people enough to make sure they send you that money every month. Like we talk about, like the Nintendo Family Plan stuff they do is a really great deal. Like I think it's like $80 for the
Hmm.
expansion pass, which you could do up to 8 people with that one. But even if you had like 3, that's a really great deal.
That's
Um,
very true too.
yeah, but last but not least here, PlayStation apparently there was like reportedly supposed to be like 3 big things happening this week in PlayStation. One was a PlayStation Plus thing. There was another was apparently there might have been a PSVR 2 event this week, but apparently that was like a total like string of like mix-ups and misunderstandings, and that was never actually supposed to happen. Like that was never actually the case. Just a lot of people got a lot of wires crossed. What it sounds like, but another big rumor is that, and there's been some rumblings about this I've read online, and not like in Reddit pages where like people like, oh, this is what I heard. Like people that like are in like insiders that I've read a little bit is apparently PlayStation has an acquisition and it's a big one. That's what a couple of people are reporting is like this is a big one coming. There has been a little bit of rumbling, Gables, and I don't know. I don't know if it's true. I don't think it is true. But from.
Oh, From Software.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
That's
you're thinking. It's From
That's not what
Software.
I'm thinking. That's what I've heard.
That's what you've heard for
But
the rumors. Okay.
I don't know if it's true. I don't think it's true. But that's been like that's kind of like rumbling through the grass a little bit here. Looking for Pokemon. I might have stumbled across that. Um,
It would definitely make a lot of sense from Sony, considering that one of their, well, actually, a couple of their core series and stuff are made from Software,
Demon Souls and
Bloodborne and
Bloodborne.
Demon Souls.
Yeah. Um, I see a lot of people like still pushing for that Konami one, and I think the Konami one. What the fuck are you buying? Konami doesn't have.
IPs.
You're buying out there. They don't have studios. Like
I know they
they
don't have
don't like.
studios. You're
You're
just
just
basically buying them for their
yeah.
IPs.
Like if anything, you come up with like a deal with them where you can like make the games for them, and cut them
Yeah.
a check. It's like, hey, fuck off. Like you're gonna get paid for this. You still own the IP, but we're gonna make the game because that's all you're like. Yeah, with you buying all these other studios, you're buying studios. Like you buy Konami, you're buying pachinko machines, which aren't worth dick right now anymore since COVID, and you're buying some awesome IPs. But cool, now you gotta make more studios to make these games that these IPs you just bought. So I would be all aboard like them being able to make a Metal Gear game, but I'm not gonna get excited for them buying Konami in that sense. Like if they buy,
Oh no.
it'd be cheaper if you
If
just
it
did a marketing deal.
it would also be, yeah, exactly the point. It would be cheaper if they did work through Konami. It was just basically Konami licensing out their
Yeah.
properties and stuff to another major company, say like with Sony, with PlayStation, in order to remake some of these games and this and that. But going back to the whole major like rumors of this big old acquisition stuff From Software, I could see potentially being a choice. Another couple of ones that kind of strike me is like, what if it's bigger than that? Obviously it would. I'm thinking
Square.
about the potential whatever
Yeah.
the usual suspects. Like say a Square or a potential, not EA. I mean, that's no, they're not going to
No.
go after EA.
No.
That's not in the
They
cards right
can't
there.
afford EA. EA is worth like I think half as much as they're worth as Sony's worth. They can't afford to buy
Yeah,
EA.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
But a couple of companies, like Japanese affiliates, Square Enix, Capcom, potential people have been like debating like with Sega for like years and stuff in terms of an
Yeah.
acquisition.
I don't even think Sega would be that interested. I mean, it's a big name, but it's like, what are you getting? Like honestly, what are you really getting? You're getting. I mean, I guess like Sonic is worth a lot more but it's like the merchandise and the movie part, but like the gaming side, it's like. I mean, like, you might. I don't know. I mean, I trust Sega or Sony to do more with Sonic, but like I don't know. Like also, I don't
And
know
you
if I
know what?
trust Sony with the movie side. We got fucking Morbius just came out on April Fool's
Yeah,
Day,
really.
but the greatest April Fool's joke of all time.
Let's go to
So
see that movie.
yeah, like we see what they do with IPs. So I don't know.
But yeah,
I,
initially the core from what I was thinking, it's like there's just like three companies I could potentially see, and like Square Enix, Capcom, or even like the development studio From Software. All three of those make sense in certain corresponding scenarios based upon deals in the past with Sony, and also in terms of major IPs that are currently on their platforms. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, I've
but
also people have been talking about. Sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry, but people mentioned Kojima, and I don't think that one's the case because they would have, if they really wanted to, they would have bought Kojima when Death Stranding came out.
yeah,
I mean, hell, they just bought Haven last week, the Jade Raymond, like, and they haven't put a game out yet. But they've had a partnership for like 8 months, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're just gonna buy you. Like, if they really wanted, I think if they wanted Kojima Productions, they would have bought Kojima Productions 3 years ago.
right.
So I don't know. Especially when it sounds like we're apparently there's that deal with the Xbox and Kojima happening. I don't know. Anything you want to know before we move on though, Gables?
No, I think we covered quite a bit from that one.
Okay. But moving on, Gables, to what we've been playing. If it's cool with you, I was gonna go real fast.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. So Gables, I mentioned at the top of the show, I beat Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It's about last week a little bit. I only beat the first world, and I've been exhausted all week. Like I talked also at the top of the show about the bachelor party. Um, and I sat down this morning and started playing it, and I just played it all the way through. Um, I had a really great time with this game. I like it's not super hard. It does it does like it can get a little more difficult like towards the end, but like I'm not like you're dying, but like you're feeling some of the challenge there. Some would say Elden Ring hard. Um, Nothing Gables, nothing on that one. Not even a smirk out of you. No, okay. Um, but yeah, no, this game is really good. I can't like I've talked about before. I've never been a big Kirby guy. I think like most people, it seems like a lot of people just aren't big Kirby guys. But like I'm blown away like by how good this game is. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And it's not like I'm not trying to say this is like this isn't Mario Odyssey or anything like that, but like man, this like it's just really fun. The music is really good. Like it feel like they just felt like they gave like the Mario team like, hey, make make Kirby, and that's what that feels like they did. Like I'm not saying it's as good as Odyssey, but I'm saying like it has that feeling I haven't had playing a 3D platformer since I played Mario Odyssey. Like I said, the music's great. I love the worlds that they built some of the levels in this. Like one of the levels, like my favorite part, is like one of the worlds is just you're in a abandoned carnival, and it's just the whole world of like you're in, like doing different carnival things. There's like, and the mouthful mode is actually pretty fun. I enjoy doing it. Usually like little sidebars you can do in there. Like you can like you gotta like beat a time trial with like the car, or like you get to do like the weird flying plane thing. You get to go on like a carnival ride, which is pretty fun. But yeah, like I know I keep saying it, but I'm blown away. Like I was not expecting to love this game, and I loved it. I like the copy abilities. I like even like some of the fun side activities. Like you find the Weedle D's throughout the level, and you go back to like a hub world, and the more you find, the more it unlocks things. Like you unlock like a little pond to go fishing in, or you unlock you can find blueprints to upgrade your copy abilities. You unlock a battle rush mode, which is actually really fun. I had a good time running and doing that. And like there's like the challenge modes, the challenge levels in there are really fun. They're usually and they're pretty short too. Like most of them are a minute or less. And that's what you have to beat some of those to unlock to get more stones, which you use to upgrade your abilities. And the boss fights are incredible. Some of the best boss fights I've had in a while. Like just in like a good in a platformer type in a platformer game. Like just gives me back to like Nintendo just makes really good fun boss fights. Like on the level of like when like the Splatoon boss fights were really awesome. I thought, and like the Mario Odyssey, like some of those boss fights are really cool. And like this game just goes places, Gables. Like I remember the end of Mario Odyssey. Like what happens at the very end.
Yes.
Remember the dragon fight also that happens in Mario Odyssey?
Yep.
That game, the Kirby goes there and like, but crazier. Some of the shit that you do in this game is like bonkers. Like I would not expecting from fucking Kirby. Like the last like the last world and the last level. I don't want to spoil anything. Or I'm just like, what the fuck? Is this really happening? Like this is incredible. It's really especially the last boss fight and all the shit. Oh my god, it's just really good. I had a blast. I definitely I want to keep going back. I want to play some more of it. Like I'm not gonna 100% this or anything like that. I think I beat it in about 6-ish hours. But there is a ton more content you could if you wanted there's a lot of collecting you could do. There's a gacha stuff you can do as well. I think I beat the game and I was at 59%. I got I think I got the majority, like probably 70-something%, 80% of the Weedle D's. And I wasn't even really trying super hard on some of those like there's always hidden ones that you don't know until you either find them or after you beat the level it'll tell you some of them. But yeah, I enjoyed the boss rush mode. That was I just kept going back and doing that because I enjoyed the boss fight so much. I did die 3 times during the game. Usually it's because I got stuck in an ability that I'm not very good at. There's a couple like I really like the fire one and the sword one, really good. I maxed those two out. And the fire one almost is kind of a cheat code though, like because you could just do a ton of damage if you max out the fire ability. Um, yeah, it's a phenomenal game. It's like it's not just a cute game. It's not just like it's way more than what I expected. Like I talked about for months building up to it. Was like I just don't want it to just be easy Mario because all Kirby games have just been easy 2D Mario, like just for kids. Now that was literally the whole point of like why Kirby was made, and I get that. And there is there's the wild mode, which is like normal, and then there's like spring mode, I think, which is like baby mode basically. Um, and I played the whole game on the wild mode, and I had a good time with it. I can't believe it's just a stunning game. Like I like so like it's the some of the levels you go into, just looking at the background, like I said earlier, like it's incredible what they do with the Switch, where you could tell like certain moments, like it's definitely like it's bursts at the seams a little bit, but some of the tricks and some of the things they can do with it and the way they make things look are just beautiful. So yeah, boy, this is the game I was not expecting to be like. I know it's April 2nd. I've only played 3 games this year of any substance. But this would be like, I don't, it's not a game of the year contender, but this is a serious top 10 game of the year contender. Like it's going to be one of those games, like one of those games where it's going to be tough to like find, 9 other games better than this year for me, I think. And I mean, obviously it's going to be a jam-packed year. It's easy for me to say that, I guess it's April 3rd now. It's past midnight here. But yeah, fantastic game, Gables. You need to buy this game.
Yeah, I understand that fully.
I think, and it's a perfect palate cleanser because doing like Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then a couple weeks later jumping into Horizon, and then just like it's just been these big time sink games. Like I put like 25 hours in the Pokemon. I put like 43 hours in the Horizon. So these games that sucked up a lot of time for me, and then just have this nice, fun, chill game that's also very good to just like to play, and just like it's like I said, it's perfect palate cleanser. It's like doesn't require a ton of time. It's nice, you can just jump into a few levels and bounce off. But like I said though, like I just got so hooked on this game that I started playing this morning. I played for a couple hours and I stopped for a little bit, and then I hopped back on this afternoon, and I just ended up I beat like the one of the worlds, and I realized I'm like, oh, I'm on the last fucking world. Well, I might as well just beat it, and then I was done with it. I'm like, that game was incredible. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I've been playing this week. Gables, what about you?
All right. So you finished Kirby, I finished Elden Ring. So, man, it's definitely it definitely was a friggin' experience. Let me just say this right now. From when we last left off from this whole month-long escapade for Elden Ring, I was facing off against the boss Rykard. Rykard, from one of the major bosses inside the game, he was the easiest one. And the reason why I thought that, the reason why he was the easiest one for me is, for one, I went to Flame Manor way over leveled to when initially you can go through and get to it the first time. But second is because the weapon to use against Rykard, for that boss battle is presented to you before you get to like the main encounter for the boss itself. So for Rykard, he is a gigantic serpent-like creature that is pretty much insatiable in terms of appetite of just destroying, killing whatever type of beings that he can like get his hands on, quintessentially. But his weapon is only usable for his boss battle. So basically, you technically have it, but you cannot get its full effect unless you fight that boss battle. And so I tried it a couple different times with my current weapon set, to where I have my dual scimitars, had the whole bleed damage stuff going through. I got through his first form pretty well. I really had a tough time with his second form. And so, I just thought, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and take this katana. I'm just going to go for this big old colossal weapon that he has, that I found inside of his boss room. Level that up to max, or up to +9, or yeah, +9 or +24, depending upon like what type of stones I put on it. I think it's for like regular smithing stones instead of the somber ones. But I got that up to the strongest thing. Get this. The whole boss battle in of itself took about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes max. And the funniest part about it, I could just go forth and charge the L2 button to a certain extent to where it just pretty much stuns the boss in place. So here's my recount of this boss battle. I level up my weapon. I go into the boss battle. I hold down the L2 button to a certain extent, and then I fire this big old stream towards the boss. It pretty much stuns him inside place, so I can go forth and redo the initial thing again until eventually I get him down to about half damage or something like that in the second form. And yeah, it quintessentially went from there, and that's how I ended up killing one of the main like great foes inside of Elden Ring with hardly any type of effort in that regards. He was the easiest one for me to take out. But after that initial boss battle, I thought to myself, you know what? I technically have like a handful of bosses left in order to go forth and tackle before I beat the game. At that point, I was like about 66% through the main game, and that was from like last Saturday. So what I initially had a plan to do is, for one, I wanted to see, for one, I want to get to the main capital again because something initially ends up happening once I finish up the whole thing of this like tornado island. And so what I needed to do first was go and finish up the last remaining like boss battles for Tornado Island. And the major boss of that thing was a clergy beastman by the name of Malekith. Fucking hard boss battle beyond belief. And the reason why this thing can be difficult, for one, it punishes aggressive melee players. Like it's intensely and like goes through and like punishes melee players because your initial thing leading up to this point, you can pretty much be aggressive in terms of your style for most of the bosses or most of the enemies in the game. Okay, let's stick at their feet. Let's stick close to their feet or something, or get like roll right behind them and stuff. Inside of Elden Ring, you're pretty much punished if you try to keep on doing a constant defensive sort of rolling stances or try to back away and try to run away in terms of that stuff. That's where a lot of bosses like to go forth and gang up on you or try to do a whole bunch of wombo combo shit to where you're basically whittling down HP with you having to abuse your flasks in order to try to maintain your health and this and that. Inside of the Malekith battle, his first form was highly aggressive. I lost to him multiple times instead of his first form. Inside of his second form was even crazier because he shreds his shroud and everything else. He basically has his big old freaking blade and stuff. He clings to pillars and stuff, and he will do all these various crazy attacks. And have the first couple of dozen times I lost against this boss, I'm like, holy fuck, I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to beat this? At one point, I was getting so frustrated to where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna come back to this, but I need to go forth and I need to try to figure out my plan of attack for this. So I went from doing that. That's how I initially got to the Rykard thing to begin with. So go through where I beat Rykard, and I wanted to get to some of the other areas I haven't explored yet. So after I was done with Flame Manor, I wanted to go to that hidden passage in terms of right next to where the whole giant snow mountain stuff. So what I did was there was a side quest to where I had to get this type of medallion by going to a couple different places. One of them involved me having to tangle with a boss inside of like, the snow area by the name of Captain Niall. This
Aw.
dude is a big old yeah, he's a freaking soldier, right? And he has summoning abilities to where he summons two of these warriors like at his side, and both of them are like medium to hard enemies, regular enemies you face in the overworld, like a couple dozen times in this regards. So one of them has dual swords, the other one has like a sword and shield. Both of them have sort of like wind type of attacks or whirling attacks for like with melee and stuff. How I was able to beat this boss how I was able to beat it was by going to another separate area. And this separate area, and trust me, all of these tie in to me beating this game. There is another underground area by the name of like Noxtella. It's hidden, but you can only access it after defeating Star Scourge Rodan. Because after that boss battle finishes, there's a cutscene to where you have a whole bunch of meteorites stuff coming through, and one of them crashes into the ground right next to like this area, and you can travel down there, and it opens the Noxtel, the underground city. So I came to a particular boss battle underneath there. It's called the Mimic Tier. So what's the Mimic Tier boss battle? Well, here's the thing: when you defeat him, you get its summon, and it copies every single thing in regards to you, in terms of your equipment, in terms of your sword and shield, and your weapon set out, and quintessentially your buffs as well. At the first, when I went to the boss, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for them, see how I do it as it is. Of course, I lost against him during that time, but then it dawned on me, oh, Gabe, you're no, that's freaking stupid. Let's go ahead and unequip everything and stuff, except just go forward and unequipped everything and go into the boss battle. And sure enough, I took off every bit of my armor, every bit of my things, like all my freaking support things and my weapons. I go into the boss battle, and sure enough, it's like you just see him in his fucking underwear or something like that, just trying to go forth and just hit me with his fists. And so what I did was, as soon as I entered back in the battle, and he formed directly that, I just went into the menu, equipped my scimitars and stuff,
Oh
and just
shit!
beat the shit out of him and just killed him that way.
Nice.
The fact you can do that inside of a boss battle to where you can outsmart the AI, it's like, you know what, let's take advantage of his core weakness, and that's equipping things after he forms to a specific move set. So manipulate him to a certain extent where you can just easily take advantage of him. So that's how that fight went. I gained the ability, the summon to, have the mimic tier inside of a boss battle. And so what I ended up doing is tracking down the resources to maximize that summon. You have to collect a whole bunch of things called like grave, like glowworths or something like that. It's like a specific type of item you need to have the spirit channeler go forth and level up your summons to a specific extent. So after I did that, I went back to some of those boss battles, and I wanted to see how good, or I just basically wanted to see if that would help. For the Malekith battle, yes, it did help. Absolutely, it did. Basically, since I had a copy of myself that had my armor, had the weapons and stuff, it helped me to a certain extent to where he was distracted enough to where I could go into a second form, be super aggressive, heal when needed, take out Malekith. I got his room. His. I got basically his essence and everything else like that. Commander Niall. I got him down. He was actually the first major casualty from this damn thing because kept focusing on my doppelganger that I literally just took him out like the second I summoned the mimic tier.
Rest in peace,
And
Neil.
the thing about it is the mimic tier has been nerfed too. It was nerfed before I started using him in terms of using it in sort of boss battles. So there was always that chance to where I would die regardless of having this thing summon onto the field, or the thing would be killed right away or something if I hadn't leveled it up to an extent. But the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get all the boss battles done, the main ones. And which ones I had left after that was one in the secret snow area. Of course, a lot of the Elden Ring players know exactly which boss I'm talking about, and that's Melania, the Queen of Rot. I'll tell you this right now, Tyler. I went through the boss battles after that, like the first Elden Lord and stuff, the last two bosses in the entire game before you finish up the story, Radagon and like the Elden Beast. I went through and I beat those guys and stuff, have my Mimic Tier in hand and stuff. Those guys were easy in comparison to facing off against Melania, the Creedal Rot. This is a boss that in other games, in other RPGs, this is the type of boss that's stronger than the main boss, the final boss. So, starting out, you have to navigate throughout this specific area inside of this unlocked like snow portion, right? So, like I was saying before, you need a specific type of medallion to do from like the specific side quest in order to access a different transfer point from the Atlas Plateau entry point. And so once I did that, I traveled to this area. I explored all around. It was definitely difficult getting to this spot, but there is a little lost grace before you enter into the boss battle, so you don't have to retravel all the way through a specific point just to get to that one boss battle. And that's something I do admire in regards from what From Software did with this game. They could have made it entirely tedious to where you had to go through an entire area all over again just to get to this one spot in order to refight this one boss that you've died to now like twice or four or six or 10 times. But for a lot of these boss battles, they give you a lost grace, a save point, quintessentially fairly close to a boss before you start fighting it. So that's sort of like a thing. The boss itself. It starts off with you are pretty much triggered in this cutscene, and once the cutscene ends, she rushes right towards you, and she will kill you in 2 hits. That, and that's with you having a full health bar. That happened to me the first time that thing, because I didn't think about backing up and evading out of the way or to the side at the right time, so I could not time it correctly and ended up dying like with the span of 2 hits with a full bar. What that evolved into was me going back into the battle, summoning my Mimic Tier, still getting my ass handed to me because she has a couple of different attacks. One is a lunge, right, in her first form. Another with her weapon, she has a special to where she goes into like a specific stance in the sky, and she goes and she rushes towards you. It's a whole bunch of slashes with her sword, and this attack will continue on for a good solid like 5 to 10 seconds with you trying to dodge and try to evade. It's very hard to dodge. It's very hard to time right. I have dodged this attack a couple of different times by accident. Some I was able to go through in time, but that's not the end of the combo. Even when after she just dashes ahead like 3 or 4 different times, there's this little bubble thing that'll just like spark out kind of like an area of effect damage. I've seen YouTubers and I've seen streamers fight this boss and take like about 5 to, in extreme case, about 7 hours to try to beat this boss their first time. For me, it took roughly about, I want to say 2 hours. Roughly 2 hours. And that was in large part of me experimenting with weapons that I wanted to use against her. And bear in mind, this is not even her second form. She has 2 forms. And it'll completely take you by surprise in her second form, because here's the thing. When I first got her down to halfway and the cutscene triggers, and you are left with this most epic scene of her emerging from like a big old freaking like flower like cocoon, right? And she has these rotted wings that sprout, and all these butterflies are freaking flying out from her wings. It is the most aesthetically craziest looking boss I have ever seen inside of a video game, but it's so fucking awesome the way they were able to design this character model to a certain extent to where now her body's completely covered in rot. She can't see, mind you. She doesn't have any eyes. So she has like rot covering the front portions of her eyes, has all this stuff. But the first attack she does, she curls up into this big old like lotus flower or something, this orange lotus flower, and she goes diving right at you, and it explodes. And if you don't get out of that radius of that flower, you're dead. Just like that. That also happened to me that first time when I got to her second form. And how I initially beat her, that was a stroke of luck, because I managed to beat her first form handily during this attempt with my Mimic Tier and everything else. My Mimic ends up dying on the second form, right? And I am like, she is like a quarter of a way. Now, here's the thing. She also has an attack to where she can replenish health. That is part of the reason why this battle is so difficult, is because every time she does a slash or an attack and she hits you, she recovers about a quarter of her health. And so, on top of an already crazy ass boss fight, on top of already crazy type of move sets and this and that, she can recover her health if you willy nilly just summon like summons and stuff, and basically she can go through and just like take off all this thing and just reheal and just take away any type of advantage you had initially. So that leads me to the last initial thing, to where I equipped on a couple different items here. I equipped on like my dual scimitars. I think I just used my dual scimitars with that, and I fought her to the initial extent to where she was like a string of health, and she was about to attack, and I actually attacked. I got her down, and right after, and I timed it just right to where I killed her before she ended up taking me out with Scarlet Rot. And I thought, it's okay, I got her. And it's like all of a sudden I died. I'm like, did that count it? Tell me that fucking counted. And the trophy pops up. I fucking beat her. I skipped the entirety of this cutscene because I'm dead now. And I go right back to it. Yeah, I missed the cutscene, but this is the second time inside that entire 92-hour playthrough of me beating Elden Ring that I have beaten a boss. I still got credited. It's still credited me beating her. And oh my god, the amount of relief and the amount of accomplishment I felt. I literally was on my fucking knees and pressed my head to the fucking ground because that damn boss battle was the absolute hardest thing I have ever played inside my life. And I fucking beat it in less time than a lot of other people have done. And that was just me going all out. And I'll tell you this is the top moment I've had in the past couple of years playing a boss. So, yeah, that is definitely something that, Tyler, I would highly advise you going through and watching this boss battle.
Okay.
If you've never
If you're
played
gonna say
Elden
play,
Ring,
I'm like, absolutely not.
even if you never want to go forth and play Elden Ring, do me a favor and watch some of these boss battles, especially the Melania fight, because this one will change your perspective of what initial boss battle can be and what absolutely can be overwhelmingly daunting. So, in and of itself, after that, I went towards the last area. It took me less attempts to go forth and beat Radigan plus the Elden Beast, because it did the same type of strategy, only I equipped the spoils of that boss battle against Melania. I got her sword, and let me tell you something, Tyler. When you get that sword, you have access to that same attack you die over and over to.
Nice.
That big old slash attack, you could spam the L2, and it does the full extent of that attack. And I maximized that son of a bitch, and I got the fucking weapon, the moon. I think it's like the moon veil. Oh no, the Nagatama. That's another weapon that I got. This katanas. I basically had dual katanas at full strength going into the freaking Radigan fight with my Grace Mimic, and I absolutely fucking destroyed that in the Elden Beast, and I had no regrets.
Good for you.
But in closing, though, the ending I got to it, I learned there's like a whole slew of different endings. The one I got was through completing a side quest for Ranni the Witch. So this is the blue, like the blue dressed witch and stuff like that with the multiple hands and some shit and stuff like that. I completed her side quest and this and that, and going through all that stuff, so I got her ending. So she's quintessentially the new Elden Lord in that case and scenario. But yeah, I'll tell you what, this game definitely, after I beat that, I didn't want to play anything else for the rest of the week, because this, I put in so much time, so much effort, and I literally went through and had some of the most craziest battles I have ever played inside of a game, inside of Elden Ring. And let me tell you, I don't know what I'm going to do after. I know the next game is probably going to be a palate cleanser, whether it be Kirby, the game you just finished, or whether it be whatever type of game I may play on Game Pass. I don't know. I mean, still, I need to re-up my Game Pass thing anyway. But you just reminded me. Oh, god damn. But in short, yeah, I beat Elden Ring. 92 hours, it's definitely recommendable.
We're an hour and 34 minutes in this podcast, Gables. I don't have time to get mad at you about not having the best deal in gaming. I just have one question for you, Gables.
And what's that?
You said you fell to your knees.
Yeah.
When you were on your knees, Gables, did you praise the KEIGHLEY?
More like I said, praise the sun.
Yeah, no, we praise KEIGHLEY in this house. Under the Drunk Nerds podcast roof, we only praise one thing, and that's KEIGHLEY. So
When you've literally had that boss battle to where you literally had to take a few minutes afterwards and just collect your thoughts of what just transpired. Yeah, you've got yourself a fucking great game.
and KEIGHLEY's the one that brought you that gameplay, Gables. Therefore, brought you Elden Ring. Therefore, brought you that boss fight. Therefore, praise the KEIGHLEY.
That's true.
So there you
You
go.
know what? That's true. You bring up good points.
Can't argue facts I just made up just now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. If you liked all that, if you're still with us, thank you. Please like, follow, subscribe, download wherever we're at. Like I said, beginning of the show. Look in the show notes. If I was smart enough, I put the link tree in there. Click on that. Click on whatever service that you use, and give us a big follow. Download, like I said, download the audio version. Gables and I get a penny. And that shit, maybe it's like, it's just a penny. It adds up real quick. So we'd appreciate if you went there and did that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I was your host, I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, remember that I am the man, the myth, the legend, and I have fucking beat Elden Ring.
And hey, Gables.
Yes.
Praise KEIGHLEY.
Oh, hey, praise KEIGHLEY.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
All right, I'm going to try to turn it off while trying to look cool. Am I looking cool, Gables?
Yeah, you're looking good.
All right. I got it. Did I get it? I got it. No,
Yeah.
I didn't.